Two Canadian tourists, Greg and Heather, arrive on Australia's Golden Coast looking for adventure. They stumble upon Tucker's experience, a shark cage diving tour, and decide to join on a whim. The friendly staff, including a man named Dave, seem welcoming. Soon, Tucker, the owner and guide, arrives with a laid-back charm. But beneath the surface, something feels off. He casually asks if anyone knows they're there, brushing it off with a dark joke about needing a last will before swimming with sharks. Out on the open water, Tucker shares a haunting tale of surviving a shark attack as a child. He begins throwing chum into the sea to lure sharks, making Heather increasingly uneasy. Despite her nerves, she and Greg enter the diving cage, surrounded by the majestic predators. The experience calms her, until the moment they return to the boat. In a shocking turn, Tucker stabs Greg without warning. The next morning, not far from that same coast, a young American surfer named Zephr enjoys the early waves. She's independent, resourceful, and clearly used to fending for herself. Later at a grocery store, a man named Moses approaches her, asking for help. She reluctantly agrees to give him a lift, and they slowly begin to bond over their shared love of surfing. By the end of the day, they're surprisingly close. But Zephr vanishes overnight. Moses, confused and concerned, begins looking for her. Meanwhile, Zephr wakes up in a locked room on a boat, restrained and disoriented. She's not alone. Heather is there too, pale and frightened. The grim reality becomes clear. They've been kidnapped by Tucker. Heather has been there longer, and her spirit is slowly unraveling. Zephr, determined and resilient, looks for a way out. But Tucker is always one step ahead. He sees himself not as a villain, but as part of a natural order, just like sharks. He believes he's cleansing the world, one victim at a time. Eventually, Tucker uses a crane to suspend Heather above the shark-infested waters. Zephr screams in horror as Heather is lowered into the sea and doesn't survive. Zephr now knows what happens to the others before her. Tucker keeps twisted trophies, locks of hair, recorded footage, labeled DVDs. Zephr begins etching her name onto the wall, joining the long list of past victims. Moses, meanwhile, is growing desperate. He spots Zephyr's van being towed and goes to the police. But with little proof and only a first name, he's dismissed. Moses digs deeper and rewinds live beach camera footage, catching a glimpse of the truck that took Zephr. It bears the name Tucker's Experience. Realizing something terrible may have happened, he heads straight there. At the boat, Zephyr's spirit remains unbroken. She cleverly uses pieces of junk and broken tools to fight back. One night, she strikes Tucker, nearly escaping, but he injects her with a drug before she can flee. Moses arrives at the dock. Hearing cries from within, he sneaks on board and finds Zephr. Their reunion is short-lived. Tucker returns, and the two men fight, until Dave, thinking Moses is the intruder, knocks him out. Tucker decides it's time to get rid of them both, permanently. As the boat heads toward a remote location, Zephr and Moses regroup, injured but not defeated. Moses assures her she's not alone. He sees her strength, her kindness, and her worth. But Tucker has other plans. Tucker begins another deadly demonstration, suspending Moses over the sea. Zephr watches helplessly as sharks begin circling. But before the worst can happen, a patrolling chopper appears, forcing Tucker to pause. Zephr seizes the moment. She bites through her restraints, hides, and eventually launches a desperate attack. Though Tucker regains control and tries to inject her again, she outsmarts him, locking him in a room and attempting to start the boat. When that fails, she signals for help using a flare. A final confrontation unfolds. Zephr and Tucker fight, leading to a brutal showdown on the deck. When Zephr finally escapes and dives into the water, Tucker chases her with a speedboat. He captures her once more, but this time, she turns the tables. In a deadly climax, Tucker attempts to film her death using blood to lure the sharks. But one of the injured sharks instead turns on him. Zephr, now armed with a gun, delivers the fatal blow, sending Tucker into the sea where he meets the same fate as his victims. She fires another flare. Help is on its way. With time running out, she rushes to Moses. He is barely alive from blood loss and promises she's not leaving him behind. For the first time, she realizes, maybe there is something for her on land after all.